Let's get into heart rate strap troubleshooting.
Okay, well, I'll try and do this justice. I don't know if I can hold this mic and do this at the same time, but here we go.
Well, here, do you want me to hold your
I don't
mic?
know. We can try this. Do you want to do it this way?
Okay, I'll be a mic stand. All right, so this is, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see, if you're listening, we'll talk through it so you don't really need to stress about going to YouTube. But this is, you're getting ready for a ride and your heart rate strap is not connecting. How do we troubleshoot?
Okay, so key here is to have a Canadian toonie. If you don't know about toonies, you can Google it, but it's our $2 coin. It's got does it still have a polar bear? It does. I think so. Yeah, so polar bear, it's the perfect size to try and get the battery cover off your heart rate strap.
Okay, to be clear, a quarter would work just fine.
But you know what works better? A toonie. In all cases, it's a great coin.
And worth about as much as a quarter if you're doing the American Canadian conversion.
Okay, so your heart rate strap isn't working. So there's a few things to just sort of double check. It needs to go on the skin. I always check this. A lot of people roll their eyes, but it can't go over your bib strap or over your undershirt. You need to have it right on your skin, right? These are sort of like electrodes that are going to, need to be moist. So that's our next thing to check is, do you have it moist? Is it fairly tight? Okay, it can be uncomfortable, but you'll get used to it in most cases. You want your heart rate strap, which is around just under sort of where a bra strap would be, or just sort of under your pecs, above your belly, is this heart rate strap. So is it installed correctly? A lot of times we'll say you want the logo, so whatever the brand is, to be upright. It's not always that it matters, but some of them are left-right specific. So just align your logos. We always say that's a good rule of thumb. Your tires, all these things should be aligned. Nice, beautiful logos. Okay, and then cleaning. I'm not big on cleaning mine, but if it isn't working, it is worth giving it a hand scrub with just some soap. You can look this up. I wouldn't necessarily run them through the clothes washer, but a lot of them, the battery covers come off, so you probably could. But I would just hand wash it.
I was going to hand wash, dish soap. Just make sure you rinse it, just especially if you have sensitive skin. You don't really want to have that soap on there. So the next thing to do, actually, before you get into all this toonie business, is try it with a different device. Because I think a lot of the time it's actually not the heart rate strap that's acting up. It is your computer, your watch, your phone, whatever. So, figure out if you have any other thing in the house that it connects to. A lot of them now are Bluetooth and ANT plus, so they'll connect to both a cycling computer and your phone.
Sure.
So just do a quick check that it's it is the heart rate strap that's being the issue versus your device. And if it looks like it's the device, restart the device.
Right. And so we can repair. So let's then go. So I have a fresh battery, which is annoying to put in a fresh battery, but this is a good thing to do. And before you do that, I don't know if I can show this on the screen, but there's going to be little, let me put this in here. Yeah. So if you can see, there's like a lot of little metal pieces in there. And so if you visually inspect that, then you can come in and just make sure that the little leads aren't bent or really jiggly. So sometimes you'll see that like the piece of metal actually has snapped off, or it's bent back because maybe, it got installed aggressively, but you want to make sure that those metal pieces are touching the battery. And then I'm going to install my new battery backwards. Some of the heart rate straps, again, we're just trying to be general with this, so this doesn't necessarily matter for all of them, but if you install it backwards and just for 10 seconds, and I'm just going to leave it in there, then what it'll let us do is reset the sensor in some cases. So after I've done that and sort of, what's that called? Like grounding it out, I guess. Then I'll install it the correct way, just gently, making sure that the battery snaps in there. It's pretty firm, like it shouldn't easily fall out if I turn it upside down. Then I'm going to reinstall the cover onto the thing using the toonie so that I don't strip out the back. Then what we'll do, again, align it with the logo up. So you have a bit of a nice left-right. Is perfect. And then what we should be able to do is put this on and have it on snugly and have it read well. Now, the only other thing you could go and do a bit of troubleshooting on is get it to pair to your phone and then use the app for the company. So if it's Wahoo or Garmin or whatever, use that to try and update any of the firmware. It's not usually the case, but sometimes these things, now that everything's quote unquote smart, so maybe a firmware update could help. But that's sort of our main things: is new battery, install it backwards, then install it properly. Make sure that none of the inside metal pieces are broken or jiggly. Put it back on using a toonie, then align the logo, put it on tightly right on your skin, and then it should read. Now, if it doesn't, we suggest you might want to look into a new heart rate strap. And we'll put a couple links in our show notes to some of our favorite ones and some of the cheaper ones as well, which seem to work really well.
Okay, dumb follow-up question. Have you ever found someone who it didn't work on them, but then, they give it to their partner or whatever, and it works? Like, should they check it on another person?
I don't know. Some people say that's gross, but I haven't seen that. I had a client ask if hair, like being really hairy, I guess at some point that might, but I've never really seen that over
Well,
the
you don't have
years.
a lot of chest hair,
Well,
so
not in me. Like I've just never really seen a client who's like, oh yeah, I have to shave my chest, or they like doesn't work.
if you have a significant amount of chest hair, it could be an issue.
It makes sense.
Be why the heart rate strap would stop working.
If it was working before, yeah, you don't need to necessarily change your. I wouldn't start
Don't
there.
shave your chest if it
Well,
previously
you
worked.
You can, but yeah, I wouldn't start there if it was working before. So the reality is, a lot of these things will wear out if you train a lot. It could only be a year or a year and a half. Again, these cheaper ones, which we'll link to, they seem to be lasting as well or better. So we'll link to that in the show notes.
Perfect. All right. We will wrap up there. As always, consummateathlete.com to hit us with any questions, or at consummateathlete on Instagram. And yeah, we're looking for more questions. We have some exciting stuff coming up. And if you like this episode, do us a favor, leave us a rating, review, subscribe, either on the podcast app, on YouTube, pretty much wherever podcasts are found.